Welcome back to the official Atari Games podcast. This is Jason here, joined by three lovely gentlemen to talk about a very exciting game that we just announced. Well, at the time this comes out, a few days ago. Let's say I can't math on the fly like that, and I didn't write that in my show prep, so that's what we get. Anyway, we have returning to the podcast, Mark Perloff, senior producer at Atari. Welcome back, Mark. How you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Thank you for returning. We have punched your card for your loyalty card. You are very close to winning the prize.
What do we got?
What did you like to know? Dave Proctor, welcome to the pod. Director at Mighty Yell, executive producer on Missile Command Delta. Welcome, Dave. How you doing?
Hi, Jason and Mark. Thank you for having me. I will receive my loyalty card later.
We don't punch that until the second appearance.
Okay.
So,
and when I'm on 10 podcasts, do I get to be on an 11th podcast for free?
We'll find out.
So I don't have to pay to be on that one?
We'll see. And Tom McCall of 13 AM Games, creative director on Missile Command Delta. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And yourself?
Good. Yeah. Happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
That's great. Yeah, it sure will be. Well, before we get into the fun stuff, I like to start with the really fun stuff, and that's housekeeping. First off, review the podcast. If you haven't done so yet, do it. You can do it on iTunes, Spotify. You can even comment on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you don't want to review us and you're watching on YouTube and you have opinions, then just put them in the comments like a lot of you guys do. Love to read them. Join the Atari Club Discord. That link is always in the show description. Join the community. Interact with your fellow fans. There's even a place where you could talk about the podcast. Ask questions. Do it. Please. And also, wow, a lot of games have come out / are coming out. Not just the one we're talking about, but, theoretically, by the time this is released, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 is now out on Xbox Series X and S and PS5. Breakout Beyond is theoretically out on all platforms: Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, PC through Steam and Epic, and the Atari PCS. Wow. Yeah. Hey, future me. Great work. We did it. And also coming soon, iRobot, April 17th, because by the time this comes out, you will know that it's coming out April 17th. So you can wishlist that, pre-order that, etc. And also, for the topic at hand, you can now wishlist Missile Command Delta. All the links for all those things will be down below. Click them, wishlist them, be kind. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. So why don't we just
rewind?
Jump. Yeah, be kind, rewind. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So look, gentlemen, we're here. We're talking about Missile Command Delta. And first, let me start the gameplay here. So I just need to put a little timestamp here.
Play the game.
All right, fine. Quit bugging me. I got to start the recording on. I got too many windows open as it is. And yes, all of this stuff stays in the podcast because this is a professional podcast. All right. So I'm about to get into this thing. We're going to start playing Missile Command Delta. But before I do, how about a little bit of background? Why Missile Command Delta? Answer however you'd like.
Why this? I would love to riff on this. So, I don't know, we were talking at Mighty Yell, we were talking about like ways that we could potentially work with Atari a long time ago. And I was like, hey, what are you doing with the 50 years of amazing video games that you own? And and I remember having a good conversation about the way that we could potentially bring some ideas to, like, I don't know, these IPs that we really, really like. And I loved Missile Command, not just growing up, but like in school. When Tom and I were in school, I was really fascinated with it as like a game where the mechanics tell the story. A game where like everything that you need to feel about that moment is in that game. From a mechanical level, I thought that was really amazing. And we were like, what if Missile Command, but card game? What if you could have all this tactical stress of like, what do I do? How do I save everything? But you had just like a little bit more of a different mechanical interface to play with that. And then from there, it just started exploding into like,
hey,
more. Oh, damn. Yeah, that's good. If you're playing our drinking game at home, no. From there, it just started becoming like, I don't know. Well, if it's that, then where are you playing these sort of missile battles, and what is this bunker, and what is this place? And the story kind of just built itself. That was the dream of Missile Command Delta when it started, and then Atari was like, "That sounds like a good idea." And then,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Yeah, and then we have you mentioned the card battle thing, so I'm just starting right from the beginning of the game here, and we see what is happening and what the core, like, what is the, let's say, the most direct translation of classic Missile Command gameplay into the card game, like that core mechanic. So give like a quick explanation as I'm just clicking around here.
Yeah, I mean, so after through your conversations, Dave, with Atari and whatnot, that's when you brought me in, and we started chatting about how to actually turn this card game into an analog or something comparable to the original game. And you let me kind of squirrel away on that for a while, and I came back with this kind of like, let's do it's like a hex grid kind of tower defense sort of thing where the missiles come in, they're following along these predetermined trajectories, and your job is to dispatch them, but efficiently is kind of and I know this sounds super fun when I describe it like this, but that's where it started. And so we started playing around with like, okay, so how would you do that, right? We wanted to have cards be part of the game and how they would layer in. And so after, workshopping it for a while back and forth and brainstorming, we ended up with this kind of the gameplay that you're seeing in front of you, which is you have bases, you have a deck of cards, you choose cards, you play them on the bases, and the missiles have different properties. At the beginning of the game right now, it's basically just like how far the missile will go is the main one. Later on, you get some more fun things like multi-stage missiles. You get some other, I don't know how much I'm going to spoil here, but you get some fun tools. And it still kind of boils down to, can you defend everything, and can you do so with the limited resources that you're given at the start?
Tom, did you work on like the very first prototype for this?
I think that was Dave's. I think that was what I started with.
Yeah, the initial pitch it wasn't a hex grid, it was like a quad grid. Mm-hmm. And I built it in Unity in like a couple days. I'm much better at Unity now, but like 2 years ago, it's terrible. So I was just like, this kind of works. And that was the thing that I sent you guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that's what really, like, I think sold us on the idea, was just seeing that, even though admittedly it was very crude, like you could just see the skeleton there or something super cool. And as Dave was saying, just like a way to translate like, Missile Command gameplay into something totally new, but at the same time feeling like it's connected. There's like the same DNA there with the classic game. So yeah, it's awesome to see. I mean, it's like this with all of our games. It's awesome to see from those like little germs of ideas or like the first kind of wireframe, whatever, and turn it into to see like, I was just looking through my email. That was like 3 years ago, something like that. And to now see what it is now. Obviously, it was not like, there were lots of steps along the way to start the project and then to get where we are now. But it's just so cool to see, what it has turned into.
Yeah. If I can like nerd out about something, and I'd love to ask Tom about it. I also need to acknowledge that I cannot see your stream right now, which is maybe not helpful from my perspective to you.
I can describe what's happening.
Contributing helpfully to the podcast right now.
Dave, here's what's happening. I'm playing Missile Command Delta.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Bernard is speaking.
Yeah.
But like when I built the prototype, it was okay. You have these. I was setting it up so that you have like bases along the bottom that you could put a missile on and launch from. And then the missiles would come in and they would destroy a base and you couldn't put it on that base. And which is like sort of a combination of how it's how, a combination of the cities and the missile, firing points of the original Missile Command work. But when Tom came in with, admittedly, I was like, I need your brain to do this. He was like, it's gotta be one hit kill. Like when the missile hits the ground, that's the lose state. Can you explain that, Tom? Can you like talk about that difference?
Yeah. I mean, looking at yours, I knew that was something that you had basically carried over from the original game. And that was one of the interesting things about the original game was like as you lose, if you are unfortunate enough to lose a base, it also hampers your ability to kind of fight back, right? The issue with doing that in this kind of setting where it's turn-based, is a little more tactile, is you would end up potentially getting yourselves into no-win situations. Whereas in the kind of like real-time version of the game, you could always shoot a missile across to the other side. Even if, like, let's say you lost your leftmost base, you could still cover it with like your middle base. In this game, because everything's kind of predetermined and set, and it's more like solving a puzzle, if you were to lose your left base and then a missile later comes down and it just comes down that left lane and you don't have an answer for it, you just lose again. And it kind of felt bad. It is something I had paper prototyped and stuff like that. And it was like one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, no, those situations aren't fun and there's no real way to navigate around them. So it just made more sense to be like, you know what, we give you all this extra time to think and plan and plot. You get one fail and then it's over. And they're fast too.
That's a great difference, and a good argument for hiring people that are smarter than you to be like, "Hey, Tom, you know what to do here," and he did.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's also, I'm just about to leave the tutorial room, but there is some pretty cool stuff that's here that's worth pointing out. So I think some people just jump right in and start interacting, but I've kind of lingered on a little of these posters on the wall that just give you more details on everything. So, you have your baseline tutorials, but most of the tutorial stuff actually comes into the environment. So kind of also trains you to look around and take in things around you, just kind of build out the world and educate you on what you're doing. Like, here we go. This is showing you all the details of the cards and how the explosions work.
Yeah. We really wanted to make an experience that rewarded people for kind of paying attention to things. Which, I mean, you hope that for most things that as a game maker, when you make that's what your audience is doing, but it's not always the case. But in this game specifically, we wanted to make sure that like those that are picking up on the details, looking at the posters, paying attention to the scenery, like they get some stuff out of that. So it's good to see that sprinkled in there.
So I'm gonna get out of this tutorial room. Whoa.
Oh.
I'm gonna push myself outdoors. That's how I normally open doors. I like them right into me.
The doors are gonna be a thing that live with me for a while, because that was this is our first time making like a first-person 3D game, or my first time like really working on one for a long period of time. And I remember I was showing this to one of our playtesters, and he's a game dev himself, and he makes 3D games. And the minute he opened the door and it swung in, like you'd expect, like how doors work in real life, which is what I base it on. He's like, "Oh, you made the doors like not just open whichever way you're facing." He's like, "That's a brave decision." I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" And so he's like, "Watch this," and he went behind the door and immediately pushed himself through the geometry and just started falling. And I was like, "Cool, yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that."
Cool.
Nice. Yep. So this is probably a good opportunity to talk about the rest of the game that's not just the missile puzzles, because for people who are watching here, you can see things look very different now. So I don't know if you want to either Dave or Tom speak to a little bit about what else is happening surrounding the core card gameplay.
And I know we'll get into like more. I'm just thinking about like what's in the trailer and what we were talking about in the press release and stuff like that. So we'll get into more specifics about what the story is later. So people, please be sure to like follow and wishlist the game and pay attention to everything Atari's saying in the next couple months. But what we wanted to do was like build a mystery around the core missile command thing, not just like I mean, the cool thing about Missile Command is that, it was made very, in a very Cold War time. It's kind of very clear what the inspirations were, but the lore of the game was always that it was aliens, right? It was always that it was the Zardon, and it was like this other force representing kind of general fear of the Cold War. And so we wanted to kind of be a bit more obtuse, be like, who are you defending from? What is this? What are the missiles for? What is the bunker for? And then from there, what is the bunker and what is happening there? And like, I don't know, the mystery kind of built out almost inside out in a way, where we just started thinking, well, if we don't know this, then we don't know this, and we don't know this. And that's an opportunity for the player to actually find and explore and discover all these like strange things. And then, Tom, I'd like love for you to talk about how it executed as well.
So when after you had workshopped it a little bit, Dave, and you kind of passed it off to Unai and myself, Unai being the narrative director. We started wrapping our heads around exactly how to flow this out into like a game proper, right? And not just a story. Like, what are the gameplay elements? How does it tie in? What is the player going to be doing? All that fun stuff. And so the idea of, well, we know we wanted it to be kind of like a, I'm going to get this wrong. The inspirations, Dave, I'm forgetting what you had originally told us. What were the key ones that
the like,
spurred on
it
the
was
teenage
stuff like,
adventure thing?
it was like War Games and Red Dawn, like youth against an impossible, unknowable war. Ender's Game kind of stuff is in there too. And then also just mysteries of being trapped in a bunker, stuff like 10 Cloverfield Lane, and
that's the one.
Those were like the big kind of touch points to start.
Yeah, so we took that idea and we're like, okay, so you're a group of teenagers, you're going and exploring this kind of like out of commissioned old, military bunker, and how does it then unravel into, you're doing these terminal battles and blah blah blah. Like, how do we get from that to that? And so sat with it for a bit and came up with this idea that the bunkers would be like, they have these what are called training terminals and kind of indications that this is where they would have created future missile commanders. I'm trying to be careful about how much I say, because again, but and so we took that and started rolling it out, and we designed a bunker. We thought, like, what kind of mysteries or puzzles or problems would the teenagers like face when they're in there, and that slowly became like, okay, this is what you're doing through the bunker. You're kind of exploring, you're turning things back on, you're getting to places you're not supposed to, you're finding these old things, and eventually it kind of like rolls out into a bigger story from there.
And like, the bunker itself is not what it seems, right? So you're not just solving these terminal battles, but you're also figuring out how to navigate the bunker and get deeper and deeper, and what secrets is it hiding?
Yeah. And I'm trying to get to the point, basically, I'm not going to play it for more than like 30 minutes, 25 minutes or so. So you get a general setup idea. So obviously, try not to spoil anything beyond that basic premise. That's kind of the whole purpose of this, building mystery and intrigue. I'll throw myself under the bus. How did it annoy you? At which point that I referenced Danganronpa did you get annoyed?
Oh, are we going to air out the dirty laundry?
Why not?
Here we go.
Why not? Let's do it.
Here we go. Gloves are off.
Well, you did put, I believe, Zero Escape was also mentioned in the initial pitch document too.
Yep. Zero Escape, and the Danganronpa of it all, of being young people in a surreal scenario with the want for multiple endings and stuff like that. Like, it's a very clear touchstone, and your feedback because of that was really good, even if I haven't played all of the DR games.
Oh man, 3 is bananas. If you mentioned the multiple endings, that kind of stuff, and I just went through the initial intro, meeting all the characters, and I got to talk to and I got to make a bunch of choices. So how do the choices impact the game overall? Like, what should people know going into this about making decisions? How every time you respond, you're making a choice.
Tom, you got to speak on behalf of our narrative director.
So yeah, I mean, as you kind of explore the bunker and start figuring out some of these mysteries, you still have the relationships with your friends to kind of like maintain. So when you find something, do you go and tell them? Do you not? When they're freaking out about like not being able to use their cell phone inside of the bunker, for example, like, do you comfort them or do you not? These decisions, they kind of spiral out into different branches, right? And so different players will experience much different things depending on how they react to their fellow teenage friends, and also like how they treat each other and things like that. I don't know if it's a spoiler, so there are several different endings that you can get depending on what you do. We spent, a fair bit of time figuring those out, and I think they're pretty cool. But yeah, so your choices do matter, decisions do matter. And we did want to keep those elements, they're not as forward facing as you might expect from some other games, but they are definitely working there behind the scenes.
Yeah, and there's like, your friends are the friends that you would have in school and have different reactions to being, let's say, hypothetically trapped in a military bunker without being able to escape. And how you behave around them, I think really says a lot about you as a player. And we hopefully gave everybody something that they can latch onto and really identify with. Or, you want to burn every bridge and just hunt for secrets. Again, I'll just keep pointing towards the secrets because maybe that's your thing, Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's something I really appreciated about the writing is that regardless of how like surreal the scenario is, like the characters feel grounded. Like they have their own issues and problems, and they have different feelings about what's happening in the game, happening with each other, and like all of that feels like it feels real, which adds just another layer of depth to the whole gameplay experience, where you start to really like feel for the characters, and like you're not just playing it for the part of it is the glory of finding the secrets and figuring out the puzzle, but also just like advancing the story and getting to know all the other characters better and seeing sort of how their fates play out.
Like we wanted to tell a story. We wanted to tell something specific, because that's stuff that's really important to both of our studios. Is that the characters behind these cool mechanics that we get really stoked about also matter, right? Like there should be something kind of there, and both things kind of work in tandem with each other, and that's I don't know, it's just exciting to build something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like that was just a very subtle thing that happened in the game. I just turned on the lights, and I think that just does a good job of showing off like the art style that you have in the game. So it'd be cool to speak about that and how that came to be, what the decision was, what the goal was with the art style of the game.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, the art director Mike Lambert, he actually did. I'm not sure if he still does. He used to do kind of urban exploration things down in Southern Ontario and stuff like that. So a lot of the direction and kind of tone, vibe, aesthetic of the bunker came from a lot of his experiences and also some of the reference material that we're looking at. We wanted to make something that felt like it was kind of stuck in a time capsule, like it was from a certain like that Cold War era that Dave was mentioning earlier. Like that was our inspiration for how things look, like CRT screens, these like the big terminals that you use. They have that big round screen, which is a little weird, but like indicative of the time, right? Punch cards, that kind of stuff. We wanted to make sure that it felt grounded in that time period. And then in terms of like the art style itself, it's that kind of, like, I'm going to screw up the term. It's like toon shaded, right? It's the cell shaded. Yeah. It's got the thick outlines. Yeah. I know stuff about games. And we landed on that mostly because we thought it did a good job of keeping it from, as a smaller studio, trying to do something like hyperrealism would be a pretty monumental undertaking. So we wanted to find ways to make something that was a little easier to execute while still looking really sharp. And we experimented with a few things and eventually landed on this. And I think we're all pretty happy with how it ended up looking. Yeah. And the character designs, I've loved them since the beginning. Like normally there's like quite a bit of rounds or quite a few rounds of concept art and like that, but I think Mike basically nailed them out the gate. And we were all just like, yeah, those are great. And then, we did spend quite a bit of time, like I hope people, appreciate the little details, but when you interact with the characters, like the eye movements, the way they blink, the way they're kind of looking around, like we spent some time trying to really make them feel like they're there and that they're, things you can interact with.
Yeah.
And also definitely drawing inspiration from Missile Command, like arcade key art too. Like, especially with like the chunky monitors and things like that.
Yeah, one of my
references.
favorite moments in our development cycle was because we were trying not to be too. I'm going to use the term winky.
Just say it.
Winky.
Winky.
We're trying not to be too like, hey everybody, you remember Missile Command. Like it wasn't. We didn't want to be like, because there's going to be people that are going to come to it for that. and there's gonna be people that aren't, and I didn't want to lose one for the other at any point. But there was a moment when we were trying to figure out what the uniforms of this bunker would look like could we have them hanging on the wall? And I was like, wait, they can be the orange jumpsuits. Oh, they should be the orange jumpsuits. And I was like, oh, that's so cool, because in that moment, just like looking at, again, like you said, the key art and stuff like that, we just grounded the game kind of in this history. And I really got excited about the prospect of seeing one of those orange jumpsuits. We'll say hang on the wall for now.
With the
I
hats.
still want to get. I was about to say I want one of those helmets.
The helmets, yeah.
There's space on this, yeah.
We'll sell those at PAX, right? We'll be selling
put in the request.
Full Missile Command helmets.
Yeah. Put in the request. David will look into that. He likes over the top things like that. So
I'm gonna email him right now.
Do it live. Let's get a live email or chat to David saying, how do we get Missile Command hats taking over PAX?
Yeah. I mean, the winkiness is like definitely. I feel that like that's something that I think with like all of our sort of reinterpretations of our games, something that we need to be mindful of, that we're not just just referencing stuff for the sake of it. We're like, hey, remember Centipede? Now he's got a hat. But like it's stuff that feels like appropriate and organic. And I think you guys did a really good job of building up that whole world within this game that kind of connects it to classic Missile Command without it feeling just like, we're referencing it just because, but we're doing it because it really fits.
The touchstone in terms of winkiness versus source material is I've never said this word out loud, so I'm gonna say it wrong, but comp.
Mm-hmm. Quamp. Yeah, Quamp.
That was the gold standard to me,
because
it was Pong exists, right? But this game is taking that and literally going outside the structure of it. That was like the in my head, that was the amount that I wanted to hold the original as this box in which we could play, but not necessarily require so much knowledge of it that people would feel alienated or anything like that.
That makes a ton of sense. Also, like the analog I can see with Quamp is that you're taking those original mechanics and doing something like not just different. You wouldn't expect, but also like really fun. Not just like, hey, I found a way to twist this thing, but it's like not that engaging. Like that game does a super cool job of making lots of fun, different gameplay tweaks using a very simple formula. I feel like it's a similar thing here too of reinterpreting.
Leave it.
Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say. Of repurposing Missile Command mechanics, but in something totally new that works really well.
Yeah, it adds a fun context to something, Missile Command is very much the arcade game. The narrative was basically like, we're all gonna die, right?
Yeah. And you do, no matter what happens.
Exactly.
There's no kill screen.
The end.
Keeps going.
The end, as it were.
But the thing that I love that that Tom did when he started putting these battles together and how they play is that when I play Missile Command, when I play Trackball Missile Command, when I go to or something, I am making these calculations about where every missile is and how it's coming in, and how long it will take me to actually wheel over and hit the button, and I'm doing all that so fast because that's what an arcade game is, right? That's the panic of playing in an arcade. And Tom took every one of those mental frames, if your brain is a computer, every single frame of calculation, and made it a turn in a game. And it's so cool because you're just I do think we are really close to there's obviously going to be a difference in feel, right? Especially for purists that are hey, this isn't the Missile Command. This isn't my grandfather's Missile Command. And that's true. But the analog of what you're doing and how you're deciding to do it is so dead on to me. It's just slower. But no less threatening. And I love that. I think we nailed that so hard.
Yeah.
Pretty happy with
very
how that
cool.
turned out.
I'm a big fan of the puzzle gameplay. And if you want a more true Missile Command, let's say, evolution, you could always play Missile Command Recharged, available now and coming soon. And,
you can,
I
which
guess
is
not
great.
if anything. Yeah,
Yeah, it looks great.
crossing wires with something else.
Available now and coming soon.
Yeah. What can I say? Coming soon to your device after you buy it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. I'm going to start
Yeah.
saying that
There you
for
go.
all of our games going forward.
Oh yeah, so here we go. I'm in the simulation now that introduces the the 2-stage missiles.
Yeah.
So you could talk to that a little bit.
Yeah. So,
Tackle this.
I actually, speaking to the puzzle elements, it was one of the parts of the game that I was like, I don't know. Very rarely do you like make something on paper and you're like, put it into game and it kind of just works 1-to-1. This was one of those few moments where that happened, and I was very happy about that because I was worried there was going to be a lot more back and forth about it, but it was actually kind of just fun out the gate, which was nice. Obviously, there's still a ton of iteration that goes into it, but elements like this is not like how the missiles ended up working is very different than how I thought they would at the beginning. And things like multi-stage missiles, they take that idea of like, there's threats coming. They tell you their path, and you need to predict where it's going to land. And then obviously, in the example that we're looking at right now, it's a very it's a tutorial, so it's quite straightforward what you have to do. But later on, using these cards effectively in conjunction with like the direct ones or some of the other goodie bags that you get later, it kind of like has you plotting out and guessing and planning pretty, like it really works the brain, which is what I was going for, and I really like that. And then, to further twist it, things like, well, if these cards are harder to use, right? Like in order for you to effectively use cards that take multiple turns to get to where they're going, that takes a little more forethought than just firing directly. So they have a reduced cost, which then ties into this other system where the terminals have, like, you can beat every terminal and just beat them, or you can beat them underneath a certain score threshold. And if you do that, then some stuff happens. And that's one of the big tie-ins that we have between linking the fun stuff in the bunker and what's going on with the terminals together, which is another part that I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah. The like, when I started playing, I don't know if we've talked too much about like Arsenal stuff. I'm sure you've picked up a card by now.
Yep, sure have.
Jason. So, people are able to...
I'm a gamer, bro. Pick up cards.
People are able to go through the bunker and get cards that they can actually, incorporate into missile battles over time. And for me, the like, Galaxy Brain meme of like understanding Missile Command Delta was like, the basic brain was like, always include a card that's got like the longest range. And then the Galaxy Brain for me is like 2-stage missile that only goes 2 units. And it's like, by the end of the game, I was like, oh, I need that because it literally never fails me. And as long as I'm smart enough to put it soon enough, it's perfect. Which that's just my play style, which is potentially, we could call bad. But it's entirely up to you how you enjoy. I love the 2-stage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2-stage stuff is great. We should tease, because I'm not going to get there, but I think it is fun to tease. It's not, I mean, it's a puzzle game, right? So you're talking about some of the unlockable missiles that make things a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe even some of the enemies that you see later that make things a little bit more challenging, because you're not going to see that here. So I want you guys to just give me your favorite. It could be like one of each, like favorite enemy thing that gives you that keeps you on your toes. You're like, oh no, this guy's here. And then your favorite, your actual go-to card when you have your full arsenal.
Oh, I love that. Tom, please, you first.
Oh no. I'm a fan of, I'll call them shielded missiles, which you encounter later on, where you need to, they basically, with all the levers and things that I had access to in terms of like what can be a challenge, what can be an answer, etc. One of the ones that I came up pretty early with was, I want missiles that can't just be destroyed by other missiles. There needs to be another step, or they need to be taken a little more seriously, or they need some special care given to them. So shielded missiles were the answer there. And they can only be destroyed by certain I'd say more passive cards originally, like at the beginning. And so you need to be considering your response to them, but also making sure that your defense, which you have to play on the board probably a little sooner than you'd like to, has to stay intact while those cards are coming in. I'm trying to be very I'm not trying. I'm trying to dance
That's
around
good.
saying the words. Yeah. So I like those because you have to think ahead and you have to treat them very differently than the other missiles that come across. And then in terms of cards that I like using, we called them flak missiles for a long time, which I know it doesn't actually make sense because that's not what they are. But they're basically big payload missiles. There's missiles that just have a giant explosion and they last on the screen for a bit longer.
Yeah.
I like using those ones. They're expensive for reasons that should be obvious, but they get the job done. And so if you're not too worried about acing it, sometimes you could just, do that and carry on. It's pretty good.
My favorite enemy and favorite counterplay on my part are behave exactly the same way. So my favorite enemy is, I think we call them piercers, Tom. Yeah, and these missiles will go straight from the top of the map directly to the ground. And the way that a lot of boards, it's not all the other missiles, they have a range of 4 and they move in 4, and you can see, well, this is where it'll be after turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. And the piercers are like, this is where you will lose after turn 1. This is where it will be in your face. And I think that's great. And the counterpoint there is eventually, I'm just going to say, we're going to give you a laser.
Yeah.
And the laser is the opposite. This is a solid beam of pure hell yeah that goes directly in one direction. And I think it's really fun. I think they're very expensive, and they're really cool because you can intercept multiple things coming at it at a perpendicular angle, which I think is great. Or you can just be like, I'm going to hit that thing off in the corner and I know it's going to hit. I don't have to worry about it. It's so much fun. And it's like, man, is it satisfying. It's like my favorite, like, general game effect is just like firing off the laser. Ooh, love it.
Yeah, I agree. Mark, you want to throw anything out there that hasn't been said?
I feel like we covered a lot already.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll echo Tom, the flak, the big boomer. But I think why I like it is I like seeing the cascade of all the explosions on screen, which you're seeing a bit here. Like, once you create your own cloud, and then once the next missile hits, it expands and expands and expands. It reminds me a bit of, like, was that Every Extend Extreme Extra? Was that what the game was
there's
called?
a few of them, because there's Every Extend, then there's Every Extend Extra, and then there's Every Extend Extra Extreme, or E4.
One of them I played on 360. Whichever one that was. It was the same kind of thing. You start one explosion and then you just like watch it like expand across the whole screen. I always found it so satisfying. And I guess the flak kind of scratches that itch because that creates the biggest cloud.
Yeah.
I will also say, Dave, something that you didn't mention about the piercers, but they don't do that. They just have their single point explosion too. So they are really, like, you can't get them to chain. You can't do.
That's true. Yeah. They're just like, it really, like, when they show up and in combination with other elements. That's the other thing. It's like with all these elements and the ones we haven't even mentioned, there's a lot of variety in terms of like what you have to face and what you have to take over. And like those guys, by the time you're pretty used to the game, we throw these in and you can't like use them for anything other than crap, I have to get rid of this, which is really helpful from a like challenge perspective. I love that a lot.
Yeah. We didn't talk too much about the exploration yet, but I've obviously been doing it. And because I'm so good at this game, I just aced all of these puzzles, which unlocked a secret door. So why don't you touch upon secrets a bit as we round out the gameplay, so I don't spoil the whole game as I speedrun this thing.
So there's a good number of secrets in this game, is what I'll say. And the way you get to them, like, there is the ones that you're finding now, which it's a reward for acing the terminals. Again, spending a less using few enough missiles that you're efficient and you come under that threshold. Those open up things, and then they kind of cascade into other secrets, I'll say. So it's kind of like we use this first training room right now is kind of like a taste. It gives you a notion that, hey, there's something else might be going on here. And we're hoping that gets people interested and starts breadcrumbing to some of the other secrets. Some of the other secrets you just find exploring the bunker. They're not necessarily tied directly to the terminals themselves, and you need to be clever and find them on your own. But at the end of it, they all kind of come together to give this kind of, I don't know what B plot or some other thing going on in the bunker. So
I'm not going to call it B plot. I'm going to call it
no,
cool ending.
that works.
But like, there's also, we're scratching a lot of different itches in terms of puzzles. So if you don't want to engage with the stuff that's maybe a little bit more esoteric, which I think some of these secrets can be behind, then we're not going to punish you for that. We want you to think in a lot of different ways. We want you to like find the path that is enjoyable for you, even if that's like acing a terminal versus not acing a terminal, using your favorite missile because it's fun. But then also like solving environmental puzzles is, you have to kind of turn your brain on its side to get there. And then we introduce this level of secrets that kind of show a little bit more about what's going on. But if that's not if you just want to hang out in the bunker, you can do that. I'm just like, I know what I want to learn. I know the secrets that I want to uncover, but that's just me.
Now you will find a bunch of these notes, and a lot of times they're signed off by LV, and this is a lot of these secret ones, and a little bit about my playthrough, and I've been play testing the game before I found out what LV stands for, and I won't say what it stands for.
Good.
But I'll tell you what it doesn't stand for, which what I called it, Little Vinny. So LV was Little Vinny the whole time I was playing the game until they told me who LV was.
Oh no.
Little Vinny.
That's really
Little
good.
Wow.
That's really good. And for everybody listening to this podcast that eventually plays the game and learns what LV stands for and just comes back and thinks about this, I think you're going to have as good a laugh as Tom and I just did, which is great. Little Vinny.
Oh
Little
yeah.
Vinny.
You also found real quick. You also just found some additional secret cards there, and they have different. If you go into the inventory, you'll see. Oh, not the inventory. Sorry, the arsenal. Yeah. Well,
Arsenal. Yep.
Arsenal.
Here we go.
You'll see. Yeah. So as a reward for doing some of the stuff, you end up with finding these cards that have basically reduced costs, which then allows you to more easily find other secrets and stuff. So it's, we're helping people along basically.
It's like it's all connected.
It's like it's all connected.
It's almost like this game was designed with some sort of intent.
Synergy.
Well done.
Well thought out.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anything you guys want to talk about? I think I'm actually at a pretty good stopping point here, but don't let me cut the conversation off at the knees if you want to cover any other elements of the game that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the characters and we talked about the things that you're going to find and explore. I don't know. I really just hope people have as much fun getting lost in there as we had making it. Like it was a really special thing to get to work on.
Yeah.
I told you that I brought a prop, but like I do truly love this game. And like it's really special to get to, I don't know, contribute a little bit of a conversation to the gaming history of Missile Command, which is really cool. We didn't talk about why it's called Delta. I don't know if we should.
Yeah, why is it called Delta? Is it a spoiler?
No, I mean, no. I think we could say no. But like the initial reason was because there have been 3 significant mechanical iterations of Missile Command. And Delta would be the 4th letter of the Greek alphabet. And that includes the unreleased Missile Command 2, which I'm just going to, in my headcanon, was very different. So that's my assumption. But also, it's a game about war and conflict and change. So Delta is appropriate there in terms of like people changing, societies changing, you, the player, changing,
That's an interesting spin on it, because when you first pitched it, your first slide said, first of all, I love triangles. And then
that's why everyth's a hex grid.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a hex grid until Tom got in. You said that already.
That's why I made it square.
6 triangles.
What is a square if not 2 triangles?
But a miserable pile of triangles.
Perfect. Yeah, I love it. All right.
Tom, you got anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I just this game was a particularly fun challenge for me. Like I've always enjoyed like turn-based games. I've always enjoyed like puzzle and exploration games. So getting to work on one was a treat, and just kind of like, I don't know, challenging. It is a fun challenge to have to come up with puzzles that make contextual sense in this kind of like environment and story that we're trying to tell. So that was like, I really just enjoyed that. And then being involved in a project like this is just, I don't know, it was always been good. So just really happy to work on it. I hope people really like it. And one thing I will say, because, you know, history has shown me that people will do this. There will be people out there that will want to flex on the game developers for beating the ace scores that I've set in the terminals. I just let you guys know that I've added a buffer from the best that you can do. So there's an extra layer of challenge just to crank, because I know they're coming, and it's like those aren't the lowest you can get, and I know that. I know what the lower ones are. So
Nice.
If you get there, let me know.
Maybe just send us a message. Hey, we need real terminal parse. Just send us a tweet for that. We're requesting a spreadsheet of real terminal parse as a goal.
Very cool. All right. Now look, everybody comes for the games that we play, but they stay for the games that I arbitrarily make everybody play. So that's so that's what we're about to do.
Excellent.
And man, have I whipped up a really dumb one for you guys. Here we go. So let me just do a little bit of reshuffling here. I'm just going to close that. And then I'm going to move this over here. Okay, so what I've done is I've made a game titled Words with Friends. This is also one that I've basically
heard of this.
ripped
We should
off,
run this by legal, I think.
I've also kind of I put my own spin on this from another classic Dud Love Movies game, who I always have to reference because I've kind of ripped off most of these games from him to some extent, but I put a twist on it. So basically, it's a spelling game of sorts.
Oh no!
I am going to basically, we're going to go spell out a word or series of words, and take turns, each of you, saying the name of a game that begins with that letter. If it matches, you will get a point. Okay? If it matches what I wrote, it gets a point. Now, usually in these games, there is a theme that will develop. And in this case, there is a theme that is developed. And unlike other games where I don't tell people the theme, I will tell you the theme. Because there's actually two themes. Okay? First of all,
what are we doing here?
First of all, don't worry, it's very simple. First of all, we're going to spell Missile Command Delta.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, is the last letter a triangle or an A?
I-S.
Don't worry, I got you covered. All right, with the spelling. Okay.
I-S-S-I-P-I.
Instructions unclear.
And the themes are games that any of you three have worked on as credited in Moby Games. Do not search this, or because there are some words that straight up did not fit the games, did not fit the theme. Games that I've completed in the last 2 years.
All right.
So here's the fun part, right? Because while
you have completed,
that I have completed, correct. So Dave and Tom, you have no idea what I've played in the last 2 years. Mark should have some idea because we talk literally every weekday and we talk about games quite a lot. So he would have the advantage there, but you guys have the advantage for the games you played. But here's the fun part. You don't know what theme is going to capture each letter. Okay. But here's the one hint. If a game you worked on fits in that letter, then yes, I have included it. So we are going alphabetical by first name. Dave, we're spelling Missile Command Delta. We'll take it one word at a time.
Do I have to start with M?
M has to start with an M. What is, and then Mark will say I, and Tom will say S, etc., etc.
Okay, and my criteria are games that Tom or I have worked on.
Or Mark.
Or games that you personally have finished.
In the last 2 years.
In the last 2 years. All right.
Mm-hmm.
M does not satisfy the first several categories, so I'm just going to take a stab in the dark. M. This is impossible. It's not
by-
impossible, but
By the way, I will say, if a game starts with that is a T game.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Good. M games.
Well,
M.
Dave, did they have to be released?
If it's on Moby Games, but
So yeah,
I would imagine it's been released.
By now, it's not on Moby Games. All right. I think, Jason, you've played Mega Man 11.
In the last 2 years? No.
Yes. Damn
I chose Millie and Marty's Mega Market Mayhem, which is a game that Tom apparently worked on. And
It was a game jam game, wasn't it?
That was
It
a Game
says-
Jam game. It's on
and you
Moby
are-
Games.
and you are credited
Okay.
as Team.
Team. Hell yeah.
Okay, hold on. Now that I know that Marty's Mega Market Mayhem is on this list, it has changed everything.
It's on Moby Games. I don't know what to tell you. All right, Mark, you have I.
My jaw hurts.
I don't know, man. What is it? A released game?
Yeah.
It has to be released. Okay.
Well, I'll say there's one game on this list that is not released, but that's it. And I'm not going to tell you when it comes up.
So do you have a bunch of possible answers for I?
No,
or
there's
do you-
just one answer. Just one.
so just
Bring
one.
But there will be multiple eyes. Yeah.
Can you give me a hint?
No. Yeah. This game begins with I.
Jason.
10 out of
It's not
10.
a game I worked on.
But you could just say any game then, if you know.
I don't know any. Did you play Ikaruga in the last 2 years?
I have played Ikaruga, but not in the last 2 years. So, Tom, S is your letter.
Well, you don't even.
Wait, what was I?
We just.
Are we going to find out?
Right. Forgot. Oh, sorry. My God.
Because otherwise we'll never
Invinci-
stop.
Here we go. Invincible presents Adam Eve. Dave was a community playtester, according to Moby
Man, I got to
Games.
go on Moby Games more often. Okay. The first two games that you have picked for this, completely unhinged. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
ready to go.
All right, here we go. Tom, your letter is S.
And DLCs don't count, right?
I don't think
I
so.
can't.
I'm
I
not
can't
sure.
say
I'm
Satura
going to say
Space
no.
Adventure.
Well, you know what? I'll give you that. No, I have not put any DLC on this.
Okay, so it can't be Satura Space Adventure, which is the DLC for Runbow.
Yeah.
I don't think. This is like
Right.
giving me a weird panic where I'm like, I don't know what I've worked on anymore.
I know.
Because
I
you
know.
pulled
Yeah.
up Mega Marty. Oh, jeez, I don't even know what the word. I'm gonna say if it's not something that something. Have you played Superliminal in the last 2 years?
I have not. No. I wrote Sayonara Wild Hearts. I just replayed that about 3 weeks ago. They just released a PS5 update. That game's great.
Nice.
All right.
This
Dave.
game is messed up, man. It's like
I like it. This is gonna be the next project that we all work on
This is
together.
like-
We're gonna
like,
adapt this to digital. I'm gonna say Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
No, I did play that in the last 2 years, but I wrote Sea of Stars. I played through that for the first time earlier this year. Yeah,
I
there's
think
no way
if it
you'd
came
ever
out
know
within the
these.
last 2 years and you did play it, I should get the point.
I think you should. Wait, are we?
No,
wait,
I don't think so.
It's
Don't
like
worry.
you have to,
Wait,
like,
we can
you
win
have-
this game.
I
Wait.
assure you, by the way, things will get easier.
Great.
Mark,
Game Jason
Mark-
is like, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 1,000. What is it?
yeah,
like-
it's
then-
more about the other ones. It's really meant to give the advantage to Tom and Dave when they get letters that
And
are
we are
games they worked
surely
on.
benefiting from it.
Yeah. It's also just meant to have a good time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I am.
Don't worry, I won't take away punches from your punch card. Mark, I is your letter.
Am I again?
Yeah.
Have you learned more iGames since the last
no,
time you
I-
had to
I-
answer
the
this
second
question?
Ikaruga.
Yeah, I know. In Indigo Prophecy, you play that recently?
Oh, you mean Fahrenheit? Recently, no, I did play it. This is the one game I chose that's not out yet. I picked iRobot, which is going to be out April 13th on all
I was
platforms.
going to say iRobot because I'm probably in the credits as like other producer or whatever. But like
You are, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Other producer.
All right, Tom, your letter is L. Now,
Dave,
look,
you worked on any
the
games that
thing.
start with L?
Let me explain something as well.
think I
Is that
did.
like I play a lot of games, and I play a lot of new games.
That's good.
So if you want to think of recent games
I was
that
about
start
to
with that letter, that could potentially
Now-
help with it.
Now this might be a technicality, but I'm going to try it. Does Elden Ring start with an L?
What do you think?
Liden Ring.
I'm going to say, because it was recently on Game Pass, maybe you've got it. Lonely Mountaineer?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Cool game. We're just
It's
naming
like
a bunch of cool
it's like a
games
little
now.
ski,
That's
it's a little
that's the other
skiing
fun
game.
part. Is even if you're wrong, you still get to hear a bunch of cool games.
I just try
no,
whatever's on Game Pass these days.
I chose Like a Dragon: Infinite
Okay.
Wealth.
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
All right, Dave.
Um,
I'm feeling good about this. This is the last letter of Missile. E.
I'm gonna say Elden Ring on this one. I'm gonna say you played Elden Ring in the last 2 years.
You shouldn't have, because I chose Ectoplaza, where you are in the special thanks.
I don't know what. Listen, with all due love and respect to the developers of Echo Plaza, in this moment right now, I do not know what that game is, but I am going to look it up while we are talking.
Okay, now my plan was I was going to start with, in the next round, whoever was ahead, and apparently, and you guys are all tied at 0, which means Mark, you get the first letter of command, which is C, but this time the points are double. Not that it really matters because you all have 0, as I've established. So,
Okay, just for the record, I look up Ectoplaza. It's a Wii U game. I definitely have talked to these people at some point. I'm so sorry that I forgot. It's been so long. It looks really cute.
go play it. Boot up your Wii U. Check it
Hey,
out.
get off. Hey, you're not allowed to be looking things up. Hey, now.
I had to. Hey, I was already got it wrong.
All right. C, Mark.
I worked on a mobile version of the game Combat.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, that's not what I wrote.
Okay.
I didn't see that in Moby Games. So I wrote Crypt Custodian, which was one of my favorite games of last year. A phenomenal
Great.
indie game. All right, Tom, you have the impossible task of naming this game that I will tell you begins with O. I
Yep.
played it within the last 2 years.
Okay.
I will give you 10 points if you guess what I
10
wrote.
points. I can't even, I'm sitting here trying to think of a game that starts with O, and my brain's just...
Any of you get this right, I will give you 10 points.
Onimusha.
No, that's your guess.
Onimusha 2.
Outer Wilds.
No. Mark, you want to guess on this one?
Wait, this is when you played?
Played.
Or-
Yeah.
I played in the last 2 years. Begins with the letter O. This is special
some
rounds.
JRPG, like
What do you mean, like
Order of
Sphere?
Sorrows, Hex of the First Communion.
That is actually a Dark Souls boss. That you just named.
Yeah. No, that is not it. I chose a game called Onion Assault, which, like I said, no way anybody would have ever gotten that right. So I made that a little bit of a special round, but it's a great game by the guy who made Gunman Clive and Extermination Force.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Onion Assault,
Yeah.
really good game based on like a lot of Super Mario 2 mechanics. You know, like the lifting things out of the ground, that kind of stuff.
Picking things up underneath you. Yeah.
Tom, because it was a special round, I'll let you do the next one. We are on M, the first of back-to-back M's.
And an M. We already had an M.
I know.
I'm really worried. Wait. Oh, what was Miss Cthulhu?
Oh.
No, I didn't see that game on there. Yeah,
Oh, that was
That was
actually
not
released.
a
deep
Moby
cut.
Games. Take that up with
That
13
was
man game.
we did a game jam where we made a game called Miss Cthulhu, and
Yeah.
It actually made it to the store, I think, too. So
Top
it's
Down
wild
Arcade. Yeah, Apple
Yeah.
and Google Play.
How
Interesting.
the mall game made it on there.
I
but that
couldn't
one
tell you.
didn't.
Couldn't tell you.
Jeez.
I chose Mr. Run and Jump. Mark was the lead producer.
Oh, yeah,
on
nice,
Mr. Run and
nice.
Jump, a
Yeah,
fantastic
I was thinking,
platformer.
I
All
would
right,
have gotten
Dave.
that one.
Dave,
Okay.
at the M.
Oh, God. I would have said Miss Cthulhu. Can we get category? Like, is it a Mark game, a Dave or Tom game, or a Jason?
No.
I can't get that. Okay.
No, not that.
Let's say it's. Nope. This is just gonna be me humming things for a minute. I'm gonna go and say, I don't know. Did you put some hours into? Did you finally finish Mario Kart 8?
Finish it? I barely started.
One does not simply.
You 3-star everything.
No, I'll tell you what I did here. It's the only time I did it, but I like the name so much that I wrote Millie and Marty's Mega Market Mayhem again.
You did it again?
This is the best. This is the best game I've ever played.
All right, Mark. A.
Awesome Nuts.
No.
Good game.
Come on.
Did you work on Awesome Nuts?
But this is one of yours. This is Alone in the Dark Illumination. You are credited as a community manager.
Wow. I'm
It's
learning
true.
so much about Mark.
What's that?
I'm learning so much about Mark. I didn't know you worked on Awesome Nuts.
I looked at all the...
I didn't.
He didn't. All right. Tom, N.
Wait, everyone just went really quiet. So I feel like this is a layup. No,
Because we're waiting for you.
I
gone,
mean,
dude.
that's fair.
you tell us. We're in suspense.
I can't even think of a game that starts with N.
N,
Why?
N.
The pressure moments have me blanking out.
There's a lot of new games that begin with N. You know what I mean? No, okay, huh?
Or at least it's not coming to me right now.
There was that one game that began with the N that people are like, "Oh, remember that one? That was great. That was a lot of fun." You could pass if you're stumped.
I'm gonna pass for now.
All right, I chose Neo Sprint, where Mark was the executive producer on that.
Oh, yeah, nice.
All right, Dave, the end of round 2.
With a D? Dawn of the Monsters.
You stole mine.
No, I chose Double Cross.
Oh, good.
Which Tom was the lead
designer, yeah.
And Dave, you are supervising producer. We are still at zeros as we go into the final round. Mercifully, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe you're sad it's going to end.
I'm having fun.
Mark, points are worth 3 this time, but not that it matters. They could be worth, 0.5 and it would still work out the same way.
Is
what do you got,
this
Mark?
one Dawn of the Monsters?
Yes, it is. Dawn of the Monsters. Tom was designed.
I was designed.
All right. Tom, what do you think it is for E?
I mean, when did Elden Ring come out? Because you definitely.
You know what? Here's what we'll do. Because we have. I'll just no, never mind. I'm gonna lie. You just got to give a guess on this one. We'll change the next ones. It actually works out perfectly that everybody goes the same amount of times. Kind of. This game is flawed. Yeah. This game's very flawed, to be honest.
It's fun for you.
I mean, you've done some things. I'm gonna say Elden Ring again, just because.
No, I chose my favorite game I've played so far this year. A game called Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist.
Really good. Yeah,
really good game.
Heard that was really good.
All right, Dave. L.
Lunar Land of Beyond.
Oh, that would have been a good choice. But no, I chose Lies of P, my favorite game of 2023.
It's like you check all the boxes. It doesn't matter.
I'm excited. Mark's got T. Mark, you got a chance to seal the victory here.
I feel good about this one.
All right.
The Big Con.
That is correct.
Hey.
Dave, game direction, writer of 2 songs and additional VO. God damn, Dave. Is there anything you can't do?
Win this game, apparently.
Fair enough. Tom, you can't win, but you could give us one guess for the final game that begins with the letter A.
No. No,
Mark knows it.
that doesn't.
Yeah, you. No, the other Mark? Yeah, the you.
I mean, no. Avowed. I don't know. I was going to say something Atari the 50, but I don't remember that.
You know, Avowed is actually the last game I finished. But no, I wrote Atari Mania. Mark was the senior producer on that.
See, I was going to say it has to start with Atari. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember the full title.
Yeah. Well, look at that. Wasn't a complete strikeout for one of you. So that's great. Good work, Mark. You are the winner. You don't win anything, but I'm happy.
Punishment is that you have to defend your title next time.
If I were to be given something for that, I would give it back. I don't respect that game. I don't respect the outcome, even with the win.
That was the best game I've ever played. Thank you.
Well, guys, let's wrap this up. Thank you for joining. Mark, as the winner, you get to tell us where, if anywhere, you want people to find you. I don't believe you're on the socials. So
I'm not.
I'm just look for Mark.
Making more an effort to be off the socials.
It's a good idea.
Peace out. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Look for him wandering the streets. Dave, what about yourself? You on the socials? You out there hawking your wares?
I am. Yeah, I'm making more of an effort to be off the socials, but I still have the accounts. At Positive Laser everywhere is how you can find me. And I mean, obviously follow at Mighty L and at 13am Games, so you can hear more about this cool game. And we have announced already by this point.
That's right. This will be public information. Tom, how about yourself? All these links, by the way, will be below.
No, I'm in the Mark boat. I don't have any personal socials. Yeah, as Dave said, 13am Game stuff would be great. Follow that stuff, like it, subscribe if it's a thing, do all that.
Great. And as for myself, you can find me at Jays of Doom on Blue Sky, because I am done with the place formerly known as Twitter. So yeah, that's the deal. And also, I am always lurking in the comments of the YouTube section and on the Discord. So you can find us there. And again, if you made it this far, hey, you probably like the show. So maybe review us and say nice things about it. That would be great. And yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.
All right.